24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or call 1-800-854-6316. The EWTN home video highlight for July is To the Top, Pier Giorgio Frassati. As an avid mountain climber, Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati saw many parallels between the sport and Catholic life. Popular and outgoing, he organized climbing expeditions that included prayer and conversations about faith.
The way we use the precious time of our lives should be like climbing the mountain. Make us robust, build our character, and most of all, lift our hearts to the Most High.
And now, lazy people, let's get moving. Let's go. And climb to the top.
Order your DVD at EWTNRC.com, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or call 1-800-854-6316.
EWTN takes you to the Knights of Columbus 141st Supreme Convention in Orlando, Florida. Join EWTN's Doug Keck and Jonathan Reyes of the Knights of Columbus as live coverage begins Tuesday with the opening Mass at 9 a.m. Eastern. Then stay with EWTN for the opening session at 1 p.m. Later, we take you to the State's Dinner live at 6:30 p.m. Coverage continues Wednesday for the Convention Mass at 8:30 a.m. Then, Thursday, the Mass in memory of all deceased Knights of Columbus at 8 a.m. Knights of Columbus 141st Supreme Convention, beginning Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern, here on EWTN.
Just moved in, no program provider yet. Guess I could still watch EWTN on my phone. It's better than nothing.
Hey, you don't need cable or satellite to get EWTN.
Huh?
Over here.
What?
You can get EWTN on your smart TV.
What's a smart TV?
It's like a computer built into your television. EWTN is available on most smart TVs and streaming devices. All you need is an internet connection.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Just click on EWTN's icon and you'll be able to stream EWTN's programming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all in high definition and in full digital sound.
That's great.
You've already got everything you need to enjoy EWTN on your TV.
Hey, how do you know so much?
Simple. I'm a smart TV.
You could say that again.
Check out the availability of EWTN on your TV today. It's the smart thing to do. And it's free. Remember, EWTN is everywhere.
EWTN podcasts are the perfect companion for busy Catholics everywhere. Your favorite EWTN programs are waiting for you to listen to on your time. With on-demand access to audio, you can pause and pick up right where you left off, anytime, anywhere, which means you can enjoy at home while on the road. Or you could even listen to Crest in the afternoon at night. Just subscribe by using your mobile device's free podcast app. Find old favorites or discover something new. EWTN podcasts. They're waiting for you.
The Holy Land, a living witness to the truth and power of the gospel, and the Holy Rosary, a perfect path to a true encounter with Jesus and Mary. Together, they bring us an experience you will never forget. In this land of mysteries, joyful, luminous, sorrowful, and glorious, a powerful pilgrim journey beyond description. Awaken your spirit with stones and pearls, the Rosary in the Holy Land.
Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern on EWTN.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
I'm Tracy Sable. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, the heat is on. Temperatures in the U.S. have reached dangerous new heights. Moving ahead, House Republicans continue their investigation into business deals by the president's son. We're on Capitol Hill. almost there. The final touches are being put into place for World Youth Day. We have a report from Lisbon. And a show of dedication. How one soldier reacted to the stormy weather around the nation's capital over the past weekend. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us on the Feast of St. Ignatius of Loyola. Our top story tonight, the race for the White House is quickly taking shape. President Joe Biden is on vacation right now, but very soon he and members of his cabinet will be hitting the road. Meanwhile, his main opponent, former President Donald Trump, faces a growing list of legal troubles, including a possible indictment coming out of Georgia. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports.
Tracy, President Joe Biden is on vacation all week, but he's already made plans for a trip to the nation's southwest. This as Republican presidential hopefuls try to gain traction against former President Donald Trump in the race for the White House. On Rehoboth Beach, now enjoying the ocean breeze, but very soon, President Joe Biden, running for re-election in 2024, hitting the road, traveling to Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah next week, talking climate change, his Inflation Reduction Act, and clean energy manufacturing. Just today, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, also running for the White House, told supporters,
"We are today declaring our economic independence from the failed elites and policies that have harmed this nation's middle class."
Meanwhile, a Georgia prosecutor is expected to seek a grand jury indictment in the coming weeks in her investigation of the 2020 election, accusing former President Donald Trump and his allies of trying to overturn the election loss. But at a Pennsylvania rally Saturday, Trump pushed for Republicans to go on the offensive.
Any Republican that doesn't act on Democrat fraud should be immediately primaried and get out.
And if it's a Biden-Trump rematch, Republican presidential hopeful Vivek Ramaswamy said this.
Do I think Trump can beat Biden in a general election in a narrow margin? To be honest, yes, I do.
And while President Biden enjoys the sun and surf, overseas, Ukrainian officials say Russian missiles slammed into a building in central Ukraine, killing 5 people and wounding dozens. A 10-year-old child and her mother among the dead. President Biden has been rallying NATO to support Ukraine. But Russian President Vladimir Putin, analysts say, is wagering that Western support for Kyiv will wane as the war drags on. And at the U.S. State Department,
Pope Francis yesterday calling for the Black Sea Initiative to be restored. The Biden administration, do they feel the Vatican can help make that happen, the Black Sea Initiative?
We certainly would encourage anyone's support for reinstituting the Black Sea Grain Initiative, and of course that includes the Pope.
Back to the race for the White House in 2024. In the coming weeks, members of President Joe Biden's cabinet will be spreading out across the country, touting the administration's legislative achievements. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
Congress is on recess until after Labor Day, but that is not stopping House Republicans from moving ahead with their investigation of President Biden's possible family business dealings with foreign nationals. All eyes today were on one of Hunter Biden's business associates. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales has more on the following developments. Eric?
Well, good evening, Tracy. Today, the House Oversight Committee held a transcribed interview with Devon Archer. He is the former business associate of Hunter Biden. Archer claims that Vice President Joe Biden then was on speakerphone for conversations with Hunter Biden and his business partners. Republicans say that this is just more evidence that continues to pile up against the president.
This investigation is like tracking a bleeding bear to a snowstorm. There's evidence everywhere. We have a bunch of new bank statements that we've had for several weeks. We are trying to figure out what the family did to receive this money.
Oversight Committee Chair Congressman James Comer claims those new bank records from shell companies show millions of dollars being routed to the Biden family, funds that originated in different countries, mainly Ukraine.
There's overwhelming, increasing evidence that implicates the president. It's just a reasonable person just could not conclude that he has been truthful, that he didn't know about his son's business dealings, that he wasn't involved to some degree about his son's business dealings.
Republicans allege that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden each received $5 million policy bribes in a pay-for-play scheme. Democrats claim Republicans are just out to score political points.
I don't have any concerns. I think this is a witch hunt. If Hunter Biden has broken the law, he should be held accountable for it.
What's most important is that Republicans don't try to politicize this issue. Hunter Biden should be treated fairly within the criminal justice system.
Republicans, including House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, contend the evidence points to opening an impeachment inquiry. Democrats tell me they remain skeptical.
And now they're going after President Biden and Hunter Biden. Your reaction to that?
This is just a complete distraction, and Speaker McCarthy knows it.
Republicans tell me they have an obligation to get to the truth.
The American people want accountability, and they want to know what's going on with the president and going on with the president's son. And let's just say there's a whole hell of a lot of smoke, and our job is to present the fire.
Congressman James Comer tells me that he plans to subpoena more Biden family associates for transcribed interviews. Meanwhile, Judiciary Chairman Congressman Jim Jordan says that he's working to schedule a closed-door meeting with IRS whistleblowers who contend that the Justice Department hampered the Biden investigation. I'll continue to follow both stories. At the Capitol, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
We go now to Vince Coglianese, Editorial Director at The Daily Caller. Vince, always great to have you on. A lot to unpack here, but first, what's your take on the testimony today from a former business associate of Hunter Biden? Initially, it looked as if the Department of Justice would not allow Devon Archer to testify.
Yeah, there's a lot of confusion over why the Department of Justice even sent a letter out on Saturday of all days, basically calling for Devon Archer's imprisonment related to another case that involved Devon Archer. And of course, that comes just before, 48 hours before his testimony today before the House. In Congress, he's doing this behind closed doors testimony. The full transcript expected to come out at some point, and when it does, hopefully it'll give us some revelations and some more information on how Hunter Biden was making money and what he was offering in exchange for that immense amount of cash. We know that Hunter Biden has made millions of dollars by his own admission, thanks to his last name. It's really at this point just a matter of how much access was he providing directly to his father in exchange for all of that cash. And that's where Devon Archer can begin to color in some of the lines for congressional investigators. He's a man who worked closely with Hunter Biden. He was considered at one point his best friend in business, and he knows where the bodies are buried, so to speak. He has, ahead of this testimony, the expectation was that he would detail the phone calls that Joe Biden would join with Hunter Biden's foreign business partners. In other words, Hunter would be sitting with a foreign business partner, and then he would put his father on speakerphone to wow the business partners and to convince them to close the deal. Now, what were the contents of those calls? What did Joe know about the business? And most importantly, did he offer anything that he had access to by being vice president of the United States at the time in exchange for that money? That would be a huge deal. And of course, the subject of all of this congressional inquiry.
Yeah, and as we know, late last week, a plea deal for Hunter Biden in Delaware fell apart at the last minute. I know you've been following the story very closely and say that some parts of that proposed deal, well, they were a little unusual. Tell us why you say that.
Well, they were deeply unusual. I'm not speaking as a lawyer. I'm speaking to a guy who's spoken to a lot of lawyers over the course of the past week, asking them about this, former U.S. attorneys among them. And I said, do you recognize anything in this, the way that the United States Department of Justice had structured this plea deal? And the answer I have heard throughout is no. We've never seen anything like this. Fundamentally, the Hunter Biden case, as it was presented last week before the court, was a plea deal involving 2 misdemeanor tax charges. Now, that's for millions of dollars in unpaid taxes that would later be paid after the Justice Department was already pursuing him. And it also involved lying on a gun background check form some years ago about his drug use. He claimed he didn't do drugs, but of course, in the book that he wrote, he claimed, of course, he was using drugs extensively at the time. So he lied on that gun background check form. And that was an open and shut case. So the Justice Department goes forward and says, look, we'll do a deal with you. Here's the deal. 2 misdemeanors for the taxes, and we'll make the gun charge essentially go away if you keep your nose clean. They bring this to the court, and the judge threw the brakes on it because she looked at the plea agreement and the attached documentation, and she said, something is not right here. She noticed that the Justice Department was about to give him blanket immunity to all federal crimes related to any of his business dealings in places like China and Ukraine and Romania. And she wants more time now to consider this That was not what the Justice Department expected. That is not what the Hunter Biden side expected. And the whole thing looks like they were trying to pull a fast one on this judge. Luckily, she didn't allow it, and hopefully for now, the justice system is working as intended.
Vince, we have probably a little more than a minute or so left. I quickly want to talk about this. Also, late last week, President Joe Biden publicly acknowledged his 7th grandchild, a little 4-year-old girl whose father is Hunter Biden. Curious, what do you make of the acknowledgement and the timing? And also, how do you think all of these revelations and stories about Hunter Biden, how do you think they're impacting his father's re-election bid and overall political career, if at all?
I think that the broader media is beginning to talk about this, which was not something that had happened throughout the Biden presidency. All of these allegations about the Biden family business dealings are now becoming much more public. And certainly this revelation that the Bidens have a 7th grandchild, that was well known to anybody who was paying attention to that case out of Arkansas. But for the most part, many of the legacy media hadn't focused on it at all. In fact, the first headlines that they were running were this past weekend, as they said, Joe Biden acknowledges 7th grandchild for the first time. Where was all of your coverage before that? Joe Biden, by and large, wasn't asked about this. I think a lot of people have seen this case and have been deeply troubled by the fact that Biden represents himself as a devout Catholic, as a grandfather, and had refused up until this point to even acknowledge this young girl's existence. It is a step in the right direction, of course, that he is, but it's unfortunate that it appears that it is merely a political gesture because it's happening as the presidential campaign heats up. And it's too bad because there's a 4-year-old girl's life that is at the center of all of this.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. Vince, always great to be with you. Thank you so much for your insights. We appreciate it.
Nice to talk to you, Tracy.
The brutal heat wave over much of the United States is showing few signs of letting up. Phoenix, Arizona had its 31st consecutive day of reaching at least 110 degrees Fahrenheit. This weekend brought the heat to the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic region as well. Scientists estimate that July may be the warmest month ever recorded. And we have a lot more still to come here on EWTN News Nightly, including gathering in Portugal, a preview of World Youth Day, from all the events to the Holy Father's itinerary, and where Pope Francis intends to travel in September.
Catholic social teaching is an essential element of our faith, but is badly misunderstood by many Catholics today. In his book, The Roots of a Christian Civilization, First Principles of a Just and Ordered Society, Father Brian Mullady gives you an in-depth look at the history of Catholic social teaching, drawing from scripture and tradition, early philosophers, and the saints. Discover the foundations for these teachings and how they still relate to life today. Above all, you will find out how to live your life in Christ. The Roots of a Christian Civilization, First Principles of a Just and Ordered Society by Father Brian Mullady. The latest release from EWTN Publishing. Now available at EWTNRC.com or call 1-800-854-6316.
I'm Father Mitch Packwell, and I'll be at the EWTN Family Celebration in Birmingham. I hope to see you there, too.
The EWTN Family Celebration, August 25th and 26th in Birmingham, Alabama. Register today at EWTN.com/family celebration.
World Youth Day 2023 is an amazing pilgrimage. I'm Colm Fynn, and I'm here in beautiful sunny Lisbon in Portugal, where alongside Father Mark Mary Christina, I'll be hosting EWTN's live coverage of what is going to be an amazing encounter between thousands of young people from all over the world, Pope Francis and the Universal Church. So don't miss any of it, right here, live on EWTN.
Pope Francis invites the faithful to learn how to seek precious things in life, including a relationship with Christ.
Ravvivare il desiderio, perché il desiderio di cercare e andare avanti non si spegne.
During his Sunday address at the Vatican, the Holy Father talked about the parable of the merchant and how we can find gems even among junk and the distractions of the world. Well, the Vatican says Pope Francis will travel to Marseille, France in September. The two-day visit will be a part of a meeting of bishops and young people from the Mediterranean. The itinerary includes a meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron and Mass at a nearby sports stadium. It will be the Holy Father's 44th apostolic journey. The final preparations are being put into place for the 37th World Youth Day beginning tomorrow in Portugal. The theme for the global gathering is Mary Arose and Went with Haste. Hundreds of thousands of young people are gathering in Portugal. The Holy Father arrives on Wednesday. The event originally was scheduled for last year, but was moved because of the coronavirus pandemic. EWTN News Vatican correspondent Colm Fynn joins us now from Portugal. Colm, so great to see you. I know that you just arrived on the ground there. Kind of give us a scene setter, if you will. And also, is the city starting to fill up with young people?
Tracy, a very good evening from beautiful Lisbon, the Portuguese capital. And yes, you're right. We've been here for around 2 days, and already people are starting to arrive from all over the world. Now, officially, World Youth Day kicks off tomorrow and goes on until the 6th. But when we went around, we were meeting people from almost every continent who are coming here, and we still have much more to come. Because officially, the organizers are saying that 300,000 people have registered. But we know from previous World Youth Days, for every one who registers, they expect another 2 to turn up as well. People who come at the last minute or register at the last minute. So organizers told me today that they expect across the week there could be anywhere up to 900,000, maybe 1 million young people descending on the Portuguese capital. I think the overall feeling is one of sheer anticipation and excitement. And in fact, we went out this morning, Tracy, with our cameras to talk to some of the young people, and here's just a flavor of what we experienced.
Okay, we have come here, everyone for his own reason, but as a group, to be together, to meet people from all around the world.
World Youth Day is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to encounter the Pope and just to be able to do this pilgrimage and with community members.
What are you looking forward to the most? What are you in particular excited about?
I'm excited about getting in contact with Jesus and living the journey.
Living the dream.
Yes.
God bless Africa. God bless the Papa. God bless the Lisbon.
Africa.
Oh, that is so wonderful, Colm. I mean, you really can feel the excitement here, even in the studio. I know you've been meeting the young people on the streets over the past 2 days. So what have they been telling you about what they're hoping?
You know what? A mix of so many reasons why they're here, Tracy. You saw in that clip the beautiful young people from Singapore, and they told me even though they were so tired and just off a long flight, we met them when they had just come from the airport. The first thing they did was they went to adoration, such as the depth of their faith. The young man from Brazil, he said to me when I asked him, why are you here? He said, I want to get closer to Jesus Christ. And he said in his words, then I'll be living the dream, which I thought was an amazing way to put it. We met people from Africa, from Togo, from the Ivory Coast, from the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the Pope went last year, to Kinshasa.
Yeah, and I know they're all waiting to see Pope Francis. So when does he arrive, and what are expected to be, his schedule highlights?
Well, of course, that's another thing all the young people said, Tracy, was they cannot wait to meet the Holy Father, Pope Francis. Because, sometimes we take it for granted working in the Rome office that we see Pope Francis quite regularly at the Vatican. We cover it on TV all the time. But for many young Catholics across the world, they would only ever see Pope Francis on their mobile phone or on their TV screen. So the fact that they're going to see him here in the flesh, he'll be celebrating with them Mass, is a huge thing for all these Catholics. He arrives on Wednesday morning, Wednesday the 2nd. He will meet the President and Prime Minister of Portugal, all the official dignitaries, which is normal for a big papal event like this. And then the next day, Thursday, he's going to hear confession from many young people right here in the centre of Lisbon. And by the way, Tracy, many of those confessional boxes, the wooden ones, they were made in some of Portugal's prisons. After that, he'll go on to meet people who work in various charities, helping those most in need in Portugal, which of course is something so close to Pope Francis's heart. On Friday, he will have the Way of the Cross. Saturday, he will go to the Shrine of Fatima. And that will be such a wonderful event, which we'll be covering on EWTN as well. Sunday, he will have his final Mass with all the young people before departing and heading back to the Vatican in Rome. So that is the official schedule. There may be some other things in there as well, Tracy. One thing I have to mention is that this has been a kind of a bittersweet year for the Catholic Church and Catholics here in Portugal, because on one hand you have World Youth Day, a joyous, young event of celebration. But Portugal also had their first big report published earlier this year about cases of sexual abuse within the Portuguese Catholic Church. And so that is still very much in the news here and overshadowed a little bit the build-up to World Youth Day. But that is the reality, the two realities that are happening here in Portugal at the moment. It is believed the Pope will reference this, possibly meet with survivors, but we will wait and see.
And Colm, before I let you go, when does EWTN's coverage kick off? What can you tell us about that?
All of our coverage, it kicks off tomorrow, 1 p.m. Lisbon time, local time here in Lisbon. So please do check your local listings wherever you may be watching in the world to find out when it is broadcast in your area. And for more information, you can go to EWTN.com/WYD, which stands for World Youth Day. So check that out there and don't miss any of the coverage, Tracy.
Thank you so much, Colm. We'll talk to you soon. Up next on EWTN News Nightly, headed to Florida, what the Knights of Columbus is planning for its convention this week.
There's nothing like EWTN's National Catholic Register. Revealing, engaging, inspiring. The most comprehensive news of the day from a Catholic perspective anywhere in print. With the moral authority that comes from being faithful to the teachings of the Catholic Church. And in the words of our founder, Monsignor Matthew Smith, a paper that will always be loyal to the Church and has no selfish axe to grind. Because the truth when the Register was founded in 1927 is still the truth today. The award-winning National Catholic Register helps readers engage the culture with confidence in the saving and sanctifying gospel of Jesus Christ. Increase your knowledge, deepen your faith with the National Catholic Register. Get 6 free issues today by ordering online at ncregister.com/TV or call 800-421-3230 and mention code TV. The National Catholic Register. Read faithfully.
Hi, I'm Father Wade Menezes, and I'll be speaking at the EWTN Family Celebration in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm looking forward to seeing you there.
The EWTN Family Celebration, August 25th and 26th in Birmingham, Alabama. Register today at EWTN.com/family celebration.
Now you can get EWTN radio at home, in the car, or anywhere on the go with SiriusXM. SiriusXM brings you EWTN's great programming all day, every day. To subscribe and learn more, just go to SiriusXM.com/offers/EWTN and start listening today. The Eternal Word wherever you go on SiriusXM Channel 130. EWTN. It's everywhere.
The Knights of Columbus is gathering this week in Florida for its 141st Supreme Convention. Around 2,300 members of the world's largest fraternal order are taking part in the event in Orlando. This year's theme is First in Faith and Charity. EWTN will have exclusive coverage throughout the event. And joining us now from Orlando is Jonathan Reyes, Senior Vice President for Strategic Outreach and Senior Advisor for the Knights of Columbus. Jonathan, great to have you on. We appreciate it. So if you don't mind, can you give us a little overview of the convention this week?
Right, so the convention is basically our business meeting, but that's all behind doors. So really what we're doing is 2 things. We're coming together to pray together. We're going to have some great liturgies, and we're so grateful to EWTN for covering those liturgies. Tomorrow's going to be absolutely beautiful. Great music, great art. We pray together, but the big thing for us is this is our vision setting for the next year. So we grab up the great graces of the last year, talk about the things we've done globally, and then we get an address from our head, our Supreme Knight, who's going to tell us what are we looking for in the next year, and that's where the theme comes in, which is First in Faith and Charity, with the emphasis on both of those being so important, I think, for the times we're in.
Yeah, absolutely, Jonathan. And can you tell us a little bit more about the theme and why you chose that?
Yeah, you know, it seems to us we're in a moment where we need faith and charity to go hand in hand, right? So we've got all these great efforts that are doing great evangelization and outreach, and we've got great charitable works that have characterized the church for years. But for 141 years, the Knights has done both of these things. Our founder, Blessed Michael McGivney, it was all about both the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. And I think anyone looking around today knows that, yes, we've got a lot of corporal works of mercy to do, but we're also in a bit of a crisis spiritually. I think this proclamation of a absolute crisis of isolation, of desolation, of people being not capable of finding hope, and the studies that come out about our poor young people and what they're suffering, we really believe that the Knights of Columbus, 2 million men, 16,000 parishes worldwide, we have a mission to bring both the corporal and spiritual works of mercy, put them together in a meaningful way, and bear witness to the world of the hope and healing that Christ brings.
Yeah, and I know that you have been really heavily involved with the Knights in evangelization and faith formation, and both those areas are going to be a focus of the convention this year. That said, Jonathan, what does that mean specifically for your organization and the people that you interact with and minister to?
Yeah, you know, we're a men's organization. So for us, first and foremost, that means we want to form men. We want to recruit young men. We want to bring them to knowledge of Jesus Christ, and we want to train them up to be disciples. And so we are going to be unveiling some great resources we've put together. A men's Bible study, a video series. I'll save the splash for tomorrow, but we're really investing in the formation of men because we're convinced, like the studies show, that the father's faith is the single most determinative factor in the faith of children, and that we need men to step up at this moment in history to really take on the kind of leadership God has called them to as disciples of Jesus Christ. So for us, that means sending men on mission, entrusting them to the grace of God, and equipping them for that mission so that they can go out, make disciples.
And Jonathan, I want to pivot here before I let you go and talk about something else. At a large gathering of the faithful in California over the weekend, the Napa Institute, I know you gave a speech on Christian hope. And before we let you go, would you mind sharing that message with our viewers?
Yeah, you know, thank you for asking. That message was twofold, and I think it's embodied by our Knights gathering. The first is, hope is the great virtue of hard times. As 1 Peter says, be ready to give an account for your hope, especially in the hard times. And this is a hard time, so I said, hey, this is a time for hope. This is a test of our hope, and that's where evangelization will come from. And my second message was pretty simple as well. It was, sometimes we don't see things that make us hopeful. The crucifixion was not a hopeful event to see, but it was actually Christ conquering the enemy and setting the human race free forever. It was the ultimate victory. So let's set our eyes on what the Lord wants us to see, and let's take hope in his message and what he's really doing, no matter what we seem to think is going on.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We appreciate it, and great to be with you, Jonathan. God bless.
God bless. Thanks, Tracy.
And finally tonight, as a fierce thunderstorm swept through the D.C. area on Saturday, many people sought shelter, but there was one person who was an exception. Powerful video right here showing the guard at the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington National Cemetery, unwavering in his duty. The storm brought thunder and lightning, as well as severe wind gusts and even power outages. The tomb is guarded by members of the 3rd Infantry Regiment. Incredible. And we thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Tracy Sable. Good night, and God bless.
Hello, Journey Home family. Next time, we'll welcome Jonathan Spade, a former evangelical Protestant, to share what led him to come home to the Catholic Church. Share the journey next time on EWTN's The Journey Home.
Hi, I'm Janet Williams, and I'll be at the EWTN Family Celebration in Birmingham, and you should be there too.
The EWTN Family Celebration, August 25th and 26th in Birmingham, Alabama. Register today at EWTN.com/family celebration. EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.